In our previous segment, we have talked of the process of oogenesis in detail. Then the oogenesis means the process of the formation of egg cell in the female reproductive system. Now let us discuss the structure of the human female egg cell. So basically, it is a small rounded cell. It is a small rounded cell with approximately 0.1 millimeter in size. The size is 0.1 millimeter in size, and this is considered as the female gamete, and it is basically non-motile. It is basically non-motile in nature. Now, in the structure of the human cell, as we say that it is a small rounded cell, the cell has its own plasma membrane, and the plasma membrane is called as vitelline membrane. So, if I am drawing it here, let us say this is the human egg cell, right? Then the outermost layer of this cell, that is a human egg cell, is what we call it as plasma membrane. So let us say that this is the vitelline membrane. And what is the meaning of vitelline membrane? Vitelline membrane is basically plasma membrane of egg cell. So it is a female gamete which is a non-motile. Outermost membrane or layer is known as vitelline layer or vitelline membrane, and we know vitelline membrane is basically a plasma membrane. Now talking about the inner cell mass, that is the cytoplasmic content. Cytoplasmic content is basically divided into two zones, that is outer zone as well as inner zone. So cytoplasmic content is divided into two parts, that is outer compartment and inner layer or inner part. Outer, we all know it is called as the cortex. So outer is very dense, and this is the structure which is called as cortex. So this is the vitelline membrane or the plasma membrane. Within the vitelline membrane, the cytoplasm is there. All over the entire cell between and the periphery, the cytoplasm is located. This cytoplasm has two regions, outer as well as inner regions. So first let us draw or label this outer compartments or the outer regions. So this dotted structure that I am drawing with the blue is basically the outermost region, and this region is called as the cortical region or the region of cortex. So this is what we call it as cortex. So outer region is cortex, which is very dense. Inner region is basically called as ooplasm, right? Ooplasm. So let us use the red for inner region, and this is also maximum in the case of the human egg cell. So this structure that I am drawing with the red is basically ooplasm. Ooplasm, you can say it is a cytoplasm of the egg cell only, right? So it is basically the cytoplasm of egg cell. Now when I am using the word ooplasm, that means the inner layer is called as ooplasm, and this region is rich in cytoplasm, nucleus and other cellular organelles. like endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi and mitochondria. Right? So outer is cortex, inner is what we call it is ooplasm. Right? Now talking about the nucleus. Nucleus is not centric, it is eccentric in nature. So nucleus is eccentric. Now when I am using the word eccentric, what does it mean? That means no center, that is nucleus is not present at the center, instead it is located at one specific corner. So let us say this is the nucleus of the egg cell and the arrangement is called as eccentric arrangement and the nucleus is called as eccentric nucleus, and this is also called as germinal vesicle. So either you can say nucleus or you can also say germinal vesicle. So let us write either nucleus or germinal vesicle. Now when this nucleus is not present at the center, this divide the egg cell into two areas, right, into two polarities. So this is the first polarity and this is the second polarity. The first polarity means all the structures that are towards the nucleus and all these structures which are away from the nucleus is the next or the second polarity. So because of this, because of eccentric nucleus, egg cell shows opposite polarity. So when we are using the word polarity, it is always but aware that it is showing the opposite polarity, right? So this polarity which is towards the side of the nucleus is called as animal pole and towards opposite is called as vegetal pole. So let us say this is the animal pole, that is towards the nucleus is what we call it as animal pole, and which is away from the nucleus is called as vegetal pole. So two polarities, the first polarity is the animal pole and the second one is vegetal pole. Among these two, animal pole is very important structure. Now why animal pole is very important structure? Because this pole is the polarity or the location through which sperm is going to enter in the female reproductive tract. So animal pole is the location or site where sperm enters into the female egg cell. Now why from here the sperm enters? Because the nucleus is there. Nucleus will have the genetic material, that is the X and Y chromosomes. So chromosomes mixing up take place, that is the fertilization will take place here only. So sperm need not to travel up to the vegetal pole. You understand it? In this animal pole within the nucleus is located and the genetic material is within the nucleus only. So for this reason sperm enters into or from the pole that is called as animal pole. Now outside this vitellium there are two more layers. The first layer is basically a non-cellular layer and that is called as the layer of zona pellucida. So you can use this area also. So the first layer, that is outermost membrane, which is the plasma membrane, is called as the vitelline membrane or the vitelline layer. This is the first one, right? Second one is non-cellular membrane outside the PM, that is plasma membrane or vitelline membrane, is called as zona pellucida layer, and this layer needs to be destructed by the sperm license which acrosome is producing. If you remember the structure of the sperm, the acrosome, the head, the structure on the head part of the sperm is going to produce the sperm lysis, which contains enzymes like hyaluronidase, which destroy the zona pellucida layer of the ovum or egg cells. This layer is secreted by follicular cells only. So zona pellucida is secreted by follicular cells only. Now there is a third layer which is made up of follicular cell. This is secreted by follicular cells which is surrounding this egg or the secondary oocyte. Third layer is made up of follicular cells, and that is called as corona radiata layer. So the third layer which is present next to the zona pellucida is called as corona radiata, as the name suggests. This layer we will be drawing just after writing this. This layer will be arranged in the form of the radially circular structure. So this is secreted by follicular cell, and this is made up of follicular cells only, right? So let us draw the layers. Vitelline membrane we have already drawn. Now let us use the blue for this zona pellucida. So let us say this is the second layer, that is the layer which we call it as zona pellucida. Now the third layer which is next to zona pellucida is called as corona radiata, and this corona radiata, the layer is arranged like this. So this is the structure of the corona radiata, layer of cells which are radially located in the entire structure of egg cell. So this is what we call it as, let us label here only, corona radiata. So three layers. The first layer, that is the vitelline layer or the vitelline membrane. It is basically the plasma membrane of the egg cell. Second is the zona pellucida layer, which needs to be destroyed by the sperm license produced by the acrosome region of the sperm head. It is secreted by the follicular cell, and the third layer, which is made up of follicular cells, is called as corona radiata. Sperm need to destroy all these three layers in order to enter the egg cell in order to facilitate fertilization process. Now based on this, we can divide the nuclear envelopes or nuclear membrane into three. That is the primary membrane, secondary membrane, as well as tertiary membrane. And this is again very important. So the topic, it is egg membrane or egg envelopes. The first is primary membrane. Primary membrane, which is secreted by the cell itself only, that is the plasma membrane or vitelline membrane. So primary membrane secreted by cells only. Cell means this egg cell only. The example includes PM, that is plasma membrane or vitelline membrane. The second is secondary membrane. And secondary membrane is basically secreted by follicular cells, or it is made up of follicular cells, right? So it includes, it is secreted by follicular cells. Example includes zona pellucida, either it can be secreted by follicular cells or it is made up of follicular cells. Zona pellucida and corona radiata. And the third membrane is called as the primary, secondary and the tertiary membrane, which is secreted by the certain glands. So this is the tertiary membrane, right, secreted by glands, and it is called as microlecithal. Example includes the shells, and the gland that secrete is called as shell gland, right. So three membrane: primary, which is secreted by the normal, the layer that is the egg only, vitelline or the plasma membrane. Secondary, which is secreted by the follicles or made up of follicular cells, zona pellucida as well as corona radiata. Tertiary membrane secreted by the glands, that is the shell, the outermost covering, secreted by the shell glands only. Now we know that the yolk content in human is, in case of human, is very less, and for yolk synthesis, the specialized chromosome which is located within the nucleus of the cell of the lower animals are called as lamb-brush chromosome. First, what we discussed, that egg content is very less. So, yolk content is less in case of human female egg. Such eggs are called as microlecithal egg. So it is called as microlecithal egg. This is the first point, that extra point. Second point is, for yolk synthesis, the specialized chromosome is lamb-brush chromosome. It is basically observed in lower vertebrates or lower vertebrata, the lamb-brush chromosome for synthesis of the yolk content in the cell. So this is all about the structure of the human egg. So now we are done with the male as well as female reproductive system. Oogenesis, spermatogenesis is already completed, right? Now in the next part we will take up the hormonal control of male as well as female reproductive system.